History is not as clean or as clear as we'd like to think. A bunch of what we accept as fact today depends on who saw it, who wrote it, and who decided it was worth writing down. As the old saying goes, the winners write history, but the ground keeps its own record. That's why archaeologists don't rely on written records. Sometimes they make discoveries that refuse to fit the version of history we've accepted for centuries. And in this video, we'll be going to show you the 15 ancient discoveries that even historians are still trying to understand. So, are you ready? Well, let's get started. Number 15. The Dordaen.ki of Nippur. The ruins of Nippur don't look great. But for the ancient Sumerians, this was one of the holiest places on Earth. In 1889, the University of Pennsylvania launched an excavation led in the field by John Henry Haynes. Over the years, the expedition recovered more than 30,000 cuneiform tablets, the largest collection of Sumerian writings. As scholars translated them, one name appeared again and again: Dur.an. Ki, a Sumerian expression meaning the bond between heaven and earth. According to the tablets, this was the sacred center where Enlil governed the world below while maintaining contact with An, the supreme deity above. Mainstream historians understand this as religious language describing Nippur's spiritual importance. Others aren't convinced. According to Zechariah Sitchin's controversial interpretation, the text describes something far more literal, a communication center linking Earth with the Anunnaki. And what's even more mysterious is that excavators also reported a sealed underground shaft containing vitrified rock, material fused by extreme heat, whose exact cause remains debated even today. Number 14. The screaming figurine of Dartmoor. What's more creepy than finding an ancient figurine? Well, finding one that no one can explain. In October 2022, a small hand-shaped clay figure emerged beside a stream on Dartmoor, and its wide-open mouth immediately caught people's attention. It didn't take long before locals began calling it the screaming figurine. Looking at it, you can probably understand why. One explanation suggests it may have belonged to a medieval pilgrim. Another links it to a witch's poppet used in sympathetic magic, although there is no evidence proving that connection. Around its head are markings that some interpret as a halo, while others see something entirely different. The back carries a single carved word that hasn't been matched to Latin or any known language. It was made from pipe clay using a traditional smoke-firing technique that has existed since Roman times, although that doesn't reveal when the object itself was produced. Whoever placed it beneath the soil clearly intended it to stay there, leaving its real purpose unanswered. Number 13. The lost city of Teotihuacan. If someone tells you they know everything about the civilization of Teotihuacan, it's probably best to be a little skeptical. The truth is, this remains one of ancient Mexico's least understood societies. Their greatest achievement was the fortified city of Teotihuacan, overlooking what is now Tenango del Valle near Toluca. Even something as basic as its exact beginning and final abandonment remains uncertain, although both appear to have taken place before the decline of nearby Teotihuacan around 900 AD. One widely discussed theory suggests the settlement was established by people leaving Teotihuacan before later mixing with the Otomi population, an idea supported by architectural features reflecting both traditions. Archaeological work ongoing since the 1960s has uncovered pyramids, a Mesoamerican ball court, carved jaguar sculptures, and human remains associated with ritual sacrifice. The Aztecs eventually took control during the 13th century, keeping the city under their rule until the Spanish conquest in 1550. Even after decades of excavation, large parts of Teotihuacan's story remain frustratingly incomplete. Number 12. The mysterious Rongorongo Tablets. Easter Island has always been famous for its big stone statues, but they aren't the island's only unanswered mystery. Scattered among museum collections is a small group of wooden objects covered with a script that no one has been able to read. They're known as the Rongorongo tablets, and every surviving example is filled with rows of tiny figures showing people, birds, fish, and other otherworldly symbols. Today, only about 24 tablets, staves, and pendants are known to exist. Even the way they were written makes them difficult to study. One line is read in one direction while the next turns and continues in the opposite way, forcing the reader to rotate the object each time. Many top scholars think the carvings preserve chants, genealogies, or religious traditions rather than a complete writing system. Radiocarbon dating has shown that at least one tablet existed before Europeans reached the island, dismissing early suggestions that outsiders inspired the script. According to another interpretation, Rongorongo may preserve spectacular knowledge that disappeared long before anyone had the chance to understand it. Number 11. The Windover Bog people. Sometimes archaeology preserves far more than anyone expects. In 1982, construction worker Steve Vanderjagt was clearing land near Titusville when his machine struck human bones beneath a peat-filled pond. The discovery revealed an ancient cemetery containing 168 people who had lived between 7,000 and 8,000 years ago. Waterlogged conditions protected far more than their skeletons. Wooden tools, woven textiles, and other fragile objects survived alongside them, but the greatest surprise came from inside the skulls. Around 90 individuals still contained preserved brain tissue, allowing researchers to recover some of the oldest human DNA ever obtained in North America. The discoveries also told a deeply human story. Several people had survived severe disabilities, healed broken bones, arthritis, and congenital conditions that would have required years of care from others. One teenager born with spina bifida reached about 15 years of age despite needing constant assistance. The community disappeared thousands of years ago, but their cemetery quietly preserves something often overlooked in prehistory: compassion that lasted across generations. All right. Now let's move to Number 10. The Saltman of Cherabad. If you think mummies belong only in Egypt, this find proves otherwise. In 1993, miners working inside Iran's Cherabad salt mine struck something no one expected: a perfectly preserved human head with white hair, a long beard, and a gold earring still hanging from one ear. Around it lay a leather boot containing the bones of a foot, woolen clothing, iron knives, and a coiled leather rope. The man had died when part of the mine collapsed around him nearly 1,700 years earlier. He wasn't alone. Archaeologists later found at least 6 naturally preserved bodies, while radar surveys suggest others may still remain sealed inside the unstable tunnels. Some belong to the Achaemenid Persian Empire over 2,400 years ago, while others lived almost 1,000 years later during the Sasanian period. One man's last meal was still preserved inside his stomach, while another carried fatal head injuries from falling rock. Trapped by salt, these miners became accidental time capsules, preserving the final moments of lives separated by centuries. Number 9. The Mudlarker's mystical discovery. Most people walk along the River Thames hoping to enjoy the view. Mudlarkers walk it, hoping history washes back into the light. In December 2021, one of them, Nicola White, spotted an unusual object emerging from the riverbank: a dog-shaped figurine, almost a foot tall, with dozens of iron nails driven into its body. Experts believe it may date to the late 19th century and possibly originated in the Congo, where similar figures, known as Nkisi Nkondi, were used in spiritual rituals. According to traditional beliefs, they acted as vessels through which oaths were sealed, disputes were settled, or contact was made with the spirit world. How one reached the Thames is another mystery entirely. One possibility is that Christian missionaries brought it to Britain after removing it from Africa. Another, far less certain theory suggests a sailor threw it overboard after believing it carried a curse. The cavity carved into its back probably once contained ritual medicine. Nicola still hopes to return it to the Congo one day. Number 8. The mysterious notebooks of Da Vinci. Leonardo, the great Da Vinci, was one of the finest minds the world has ever known. He wasn't simply a painter. He was an engineer, an inventor, an architect, a philosopher, and someone whose curiosity never seemed to rest. Fortunately for us, he poured thousands of those thoughts onto paper. Since 2017, his surviving notebooks have been digitized, allowing anyone to explore the pages where his ideas first took shape. One of the most fascinating is the Codex Arundel, a collection of 283 pages written between roughly 1480 and 1518. Don't expect to read it from beginning to end, though. One page explores geometry, the next jumps into mechanics, then suddenly shifts to sketches, observations, or completely different problems. Reading it almost feels like sitting inside Leonardo's mind while new ideas arrive faster than he can organize them. He even admitted as much himself, writing, "This is a collection without order drawn from many papers. I hope to organize them later." As far as we know, he never did. Number 7. Newgrange every year. Just before sunrise on the winter solstice, something rare happens inside this place in Ireland. For roughly 17 minutes, a narrow beam of sunlight passes through a small opening above the entrance and travels the length of the passage until it illuminates the inner chamber. Considering the monument was built around 3200 BC, more than 5,000 years ago, the precision still feels astonishing. Long before Stonehenge or the Egyptian pyramids existed, someone calculated exactly where the rising winter sun would appear and incorporated that knowledge into a huge stone structure. Archaeologists generally agree that the alignment was intentional and probably carried deep ceremonial meaning connected with rebirth, renewal, or seasonal cycles. Yet questions remain. How did Neolithic builders achieve such remarkable accuracy using only the tools available to them? And why was this single moment of the year so important that an entire monument was designed around it? Well, guys, now let's head over to number 6. The Tomb of the Eagles. The history of humanity has never been as peaceful as we'd like to think. And few discoveries illustrate that better than the Tomb of the Eagles in Scotland. In 1958, farmer Ronald Simison accidentally broke into a Neolithic chamber on South Ronaldsay that had remained sealed for nearly 5,000 years. Inside were the remains of at least 342 people, their bones separated rather than left as complete skeletons. Skulls rested together, long bones were stacked elsewhere, and thousands of smaller bones filled different parts of the tomb. Mixed among them were the skulls, beaks, and talons of at least 14 white-tailed eagles. That mix has inspired several wild interpretations. One said that the birds held deep symbolic value to the community. Another suggests the dead may first have been exposed to eagles before their cleaned bones were gathered and placed inside the chamber, a practice like sky burial. Evidence of injuries on many skulls adds another mystery, leaving open the possibility that not everyone buried there died naturally. Number 5. The ancient Lijiaya tombs. China has no shortage of ancient tombs, but every so often, archaeologists uncover a cemetery that changes far more than a family history. That's exactly what happened in Shaanxi province, where excavations at Shaogu revealed an elite burial complex connected to the Lijiaya culture, which flourished during the Shang dynasty between 1600 and 1045 BC. The settlement itself covered more than 3 million square meters, making it one of the region's largest archaeological landscapes. Alongside fortified structures and extensive cemeteries, researchers recovered more than 200 artifacts. The most striking discoveries were 9 aristocratic burial grounds and 7 distinctive A-shaped tombs, the largest concentration ever identified in this area. Nearby, excavations at Hulajita uncovered 4 additional Shang tombs, including a rare Jia-shaped burial. Inside were bronze chariots, jade ornaments, seashells, carved bone caskets decorated with animal faces, and swallow-shaped belt buckles, which simply make no sense. Number 4. The Ishtar Gate. Most people recognize the Ishtar Gate for its brilliant blue bricks and rows of dragons and bulls. But the gateway itself is only the beginning of a much older mystery. German archaeologist Robert Koldewey began excavating Babylon in 1899 and spent 18 years uncovering one of history's greatest cities. His work traced the famous processional way leading from the Ishtar Gate toward the Esagila Temple, revealing 7 successive gateways along the route. That number immediately echoes one of Mesopotamia's best-known texts, The Descent of Inanna, where the goddess passes through 7 gates, surrendering 1 royal possession at each stage before reaching the realm ruled by Ereshkigal. Most scholars regard the story as a symbolic account of death, renewal, and fertility. According to another interpretation, however, the repeated sequence resembles a carefully ordered system of controlled access rather than simple mythology. Is this poetic symbolism or something more literal? Well, drop your theories below. Number 3. Mysterious Pyramid of the Judean Desert. Most people hear the word pyramid and think of Egypt. That's why this discovery caught so many archaeologists off guard. Deep within the Judean Desert, researchers uncovered a massive pyramid-like structure dating back roughly 2,200 years, built from enormous hand-cut stones weighing several hundred kilograms each. The dry desert climate had protected an astonishing collection of objects buried around it, including Greek papyrus scrolls, bronze coins issued by both the Ptolemaic and Seleucid kingdoms, wooden tools, furniture, weapons, and ancient textiles. At first, experts believed the site belonged to the First Temple period, but later evidence pointed instead to the Hellenistic era, when the region was under Ptolemaic rule. Exactly why the structure was built remains uncertain. Some archaeologists think it served as a military outpost, watching over an important trade route, while others believe it functioned as a tax collection center before eventually becoming a monumental tomb. But no one knows the truth. Number 2. The Puerta del Sol, standing more than 12,500 feet above sea level at Tiwanaku, Bolivia. The Puerta del Sol has puzzled researchers for generations. Austrian-Bolivian archaeologist Arthur Posnansky spent decades measuring the site before publishing his work in 1945, arguing that its astronomical alignments were far older than conventional dating allowed. His conclusions remain controversial, but many of his measurements are still discussed today. Carved from a single block of gray andesite, weighing between 10 and 13 tons, the monument was transported from a quarry nearly 50 miles away without wheels or metal tools. At its center appears the famous staff god, surrounded by 48 carved figures that Posnansky believed formed an ancient calendar. Mainstream researchers disagree with his interpretation, viewing the carvings as religious symbolism rather than scientific calculation. Another, far less accepted theory suggests the monument preserves knowledge of a much older astronomical system linked to the Pleiades. Ground-penetrating radar surveys in 2019 also revealed a network of underground chambers beneath the surrounding area, although their purpose has yet to be determined. Number 1. The Sungir children. In 1955, workers digging clay for a brick factory near Vladimir, around 120 miles east of Moscow, found Ice Age animal bones. Archaeologists soon arrived and identified the site as Sungir, a remarkable Upper Paleolithic burial ground dating back roughly 34,000 years. Years of excavation revealed several graves, but one discovery in 1969 continues to puzzle researchers. 2 children, a boy aged about 12 or 13, and a girl around 9 or 10, had been buried head-to-head in a single grave. Surrounding them were more than 10,000 hand-carved mammoth ivory beads, each requiring about an hour to produce, along with mammoth tusk spears, fox-decorated caps, ivory pins, bracelets, and animal tooth ornaments. The girl's severely bowed legs suggest she lived with a serious skeletal disorder, making everyday movement extremely difficult. But she received the same rare burial as the healthy boy. Why? If you found this video interesting, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you very soon.